A poison runs deep and dark. This carefully staged, ancient fantasy haunting women's pro skating, a myth the global media machine has pushed onto the world for over 20 years. They demand you accept that this arena belongs solely to the quiet and the broken. They sell a world where wordless and numbed-out girls are crafted into fragile china figurines, faking joy while enduring brutal torture, only to be tossed away the moment they become actual women. Global power players spent eons perfecting this shiny, sparkling deception, yet once in a lifetime, a warrior shatters that fake glass barrier, blows the old laws to pieces, and remakes the ice in her own bold, raw likeness. You've returned to Pro Skate, the internet's #1 ground zero for the gritty, deeply dissected, and totally raw reality of cold-blooded physics, twisted mind games, and the high-stakes global politics of the skating world. Tonight, we aren't just watching a show. We are witnessing the crowning of a new queen in an era-defining shift of power. We're breaking down that stunning, heart-wrenching, yet dominant display that 2026 gold medalist Alisa Liu unleashed at the Stars on Ice show in Osaka. The feat Alisa Liu performed on that rink was far more than just some pretty leaps. It was a screaming, rebellious, and mighty shout of triumph that stunned the world's most hardcore and judgmental fans into total heavy silence. She did more than end a shameful 24-year dry spell for American gold in Milano Cortina. She dismantled the shadow of Russian control forever, and she played the game exactly how she wanted. We will tear into the massive mental siege she managed to endure, the genius, defiant change in her artistic soul, showing why her Osaka skate confirms the world's balance of power has returned to the United States. Get ready. Smash subscribe, ring the bell, and let's gut the inner workings of a genuine American rebel's perfect performance. To grasp the insane impact of that Osaka miracle, you must feel the crushing, centuries-old burden Alisa Liu was forced to haul on her own back. For 24 painful years, the United States, a nation obsessed with winning everything, was barred from the top of the Olympic podium in total shame. We're looking at almost 25 years of pure, unadulterated failure. Since the glory days of the late 90s, the United States public has been starving for a hero to take back what was stolen. Waves of gifted American stars were thrown headfirst into a global slaughterhouse that showed them no mercy. We saw stunning American artists skate out only to get mauled by the cold, mechanical, scandalous, and deadly four-rotation jump factory built in the East. The lords of the rink, steered by shady elite coaches, tricked the planet into believing gold only belonged to children who had not hit puberty yet. They ran an assembly line forcing lethal, body-wrecking quads onto little girls whose bones were not even finished growing. It was cold, hard math. They milked the scores, cheated the rules, and dumped those kids the second they hit adulthood or their spines finally snapped. It was the age of the throwaway winner. Skating was bleeding its very heart out, swapping real art and health for a risky, hollow, and temporary parlor stunt. The heat on the United States team to keep up with that Eastern nightmare had reached a lethal, explosive level. Desperation choked everyone, and trapped in the middle of that inferno was a beaming California kid named Alisa Liu. She was a star the second she stepped onto the ice. She claimed the United States crown younger than anyone ever, at only 13 years of age. This kid was hammering down quad lutzes and triple axels, way before she even stepped foot into 9th grade. Reporters crowned her the miracle child of U.S., skating long before she was old enough to get behind a steering wheel. Lazy journalists leaned into tired tropes, painting a picture of her dad as some kind of cruel or mistreating figure, a suffocating, hyper-controlling parent, a total fabrication that genuinely sickened anyone with actual knowledge of their tight-knit family bond. The old guard couldn't wrap their heads around an American girl dominating without some poisonous machine grinding her down, so they just made one up. The global sports engine tried to milk her talent at a pace that was destined to crash. They expected her to keep hitting the ice until her skeletal frame literally snapped apart. They pushed her to be that quiet, submissive little puppet they've spent decades taking advantage of. Yet, Alisa Liu's status as a sporting icon isn't merely about her staggering athletic gifts or raw power. It goes way beyond her explosive physical drive or how lightning-fast she spins while suspended midair. Her true greatness lies in her sharp emotional awareness and her stone-cold rejection of being some tool in a dirty political chess match. Once the crushing weight of expectation, the constant public glaring, and the physical agony hit their peak in her late teens, Alisa made the ballsiest, most shocking move any top-tier pro could ever attempt. She just quit. She stared down the poisonous requirements of the sports industry. She sized up the shady suits in charge and made a deliberate, wakeful choice to put her own sanity first. She turned her back on the entire world of professional skating and never looked back. As soon as she called it quits, the skating establishment absolutely spiraled into madness while every online comment section blew up. Global talking heads were totally lost. They dragged her name through the mud and labeled her as someone without any spine. Critics argued she didn't possess the iron will or the relentless grit needed to secure an Olympic gold. They muttered that the U.S. training model was broken because our kids were supposedly too fragile. They missed the fact that she was leading a vital mental health uprising for Gen Z in the brutal landscape of professional athletics. Similar to how Naomi Osaka stood her ground against those aggressive tennis reporters, and just like Simone Biles choosing her headspace over a podium spot during the Tokyo Games, Alisa Liu grasped a deep reality about personal well-being and keeping one's mind intact. By walking out, she took back every ounce of her personal agency. She asserted her right to be a person first rather than just a piece of sports merchandise. Then, the unbelievable occurred. When she at last, against all odds, chose to hit the rink for the 2026 Olympics, she wasn't that scared. Controlled prodigy the system tried to build. She didn't come back seeking approval from some biased judges. She reappeared as a grown, formidable, and totally sovereign woman. She came back playing by her own rules, ignoring the Federation's garbage and skating purely for the thrill of the sport. This is precisely the defining reason why her glorious run to the top of the podium in Milano Cortina became the most heart-wrenching and powerful return in the modern history of the Winter Games. It felt like a movie script forged through pure grit, tears, and the cold reality of the rink. She showed everyone in that dusty old skating union that nobody has to trade their youth away for a title, nor do they have to wreck their minds or lose their freedom to reach the absolute peak of sport. She took down those soulless, factory-style programs by using her heart, her drive, and her incredible creative depth as a shield. She performed with the breathtaking grace of someone who survived the sport's ugly side, beat her ghosts, and came out untouchable. This huge shift in her mindset leads us straight to her mind-blowing, totally defiant, and zero-regret style makeover that she flaunted for the world during the Osaka leg of the Stars on Ice show. For ages, the skating elite has jammed a very narrow, old-fashioned, and honestly boring look down the throats of every female athlete. They shoved that perfect ice princess vibe onto everyone. You've seen it a million times. That stiff, slicked-back bun that looks like it's been glued directly to their heads. The airbrushed, porcelain pageant mask. Gossamer gowns of shimmering silk that carry a price tag steeper than a luxury SUV. Beyond that, the bowed head and softly spoken, ultra-refined demeanor. It functioned as an aesthetic code meant to transform competitors into brittle, ornate figurines, emerging from velvet-cradled cases to amuse the panel before vanishing into the shadows once more. Alisa Liu stared down that fossilized, suffocatingly rigid ancient archetype, cackled aloud, and savagely ripped it apart. The moment her steel met Japanese ice, the stadium gasped at her commanding, fiercely defiant personal style. Forget ice royalty, she is a skating mercenary. She is boldly rocking that choppy, layered, alternative raccoon-inspired mane. She is, without apology, showcasing her facial hardware mid-program, letting the overhead beams ignite the metal as she blurs past. She categorically refuses to glide through sanitized, fragile classical pieces just to soothe the egos of stiff, traditionalist evaluators perched behind the barrier walls. She is viscerally flaunting a gritty, unstoppable force that loudly broadcasts her total autonomy. She leverages her physical vibe to drop a massive, undeniable bombshell on the skating world, a shockwave vibrating through every frozen rink on the globe. Her skating screams that she is never some mass-produced commodity. She is no factory-pressed corporate tool built to fill seats for the National Federation. She stands as a raw, high-voltage rebel who ignores the rigid, prehistoric rules of a leadership that has long thrived on nothing but quiet, unquestioning compliance. By fiercely owning this sharp, muscular, ultra-contemporary look, she is personally leading a global uprising of young skaters to smash the poisonous mold. She is handing every girl tightening her laces the freedom to be their real selves, whether that involves a tight bun and tulle or heavy charcoal eyes and jagged indie rock. Alisa Liu has cracked greatness wide open. But pay very close attention to this. Every ounce of visual insurrection, each jagged fashion choice, and every profound mental health conversation is worthless if you lack the elite, punishingly technical mechanics to conquer the brutal reality of the frozen stage. Competitive skating is a savage, high-velocity war between aesthetics and physics. Fail the landing, the rebellion crumbles. This is where Liu's Osaka outing shifted from a mere cultural manifesto into a terrifying, bone-chilling clinic of athletic dominance. You must grasp the lethal, high-pressure atmosphere of competing on Japanese soil. The skating fans there are, by all accounts, the most brilliant, punishing, and deeply knowledgeable spectators found anywhere on the entire planet. They treat the rink like a holy sanctuary. They have spent decades watching the most technically flawless icons in human history. They lived through Mao Asada's grace and the untouchable divine reign of Yuzuru Hanyu. You cannot deceive a Japanese arena with hollow, flashy dancing that masks sloppy rotations or amateurish jumps. They notice everything, especially technical flaws. They gauge rotational velocity instantly, and they expect nothing short of absolute, unyielding mastery from anyone on their ice. When Alysa entered the packed Osaka Stadium for the Stars on Ice showcase, she did not treat the event like some easy, carefree vacation. She never held back. She charged at the surface with the same lethal, hungry ferocity that secured her top podium spot back in Italy. From the initial stroke, you heard the violent, guttural roar of her edges carving deep into the frozen sheet. She executed her soaring triple rotations with a terrifying sense of vertical lift that seemed to ignore gravity. Her blistering spin speed turned her into a blur, and her velvet landings prove she is standing at the undisputed, lethal summit of her career. Zero doubt existed, zero fear remained. It was simply pure, uncompromised, mechanical and artistic perfection. Yet, what truly stunned the massive Osaka crowd was not merely the explosive, raw power of her jumps. It was the profound, soul-shattering artistic soul that filled the spaces between her technical feats. Her intricate footwork, those deep, heavy edges, and the terrifying momentum she maintained through complex patterns completely hypnotized the entire stadium. She was not merely moving to the melody, she was literally haunting the music. Her soul spoke to every single soul packed into that arena. She bled her old scars, years of heavy exhaustion, grand victories, and a fresh, wild ecstasy straight onto the ice. That flawless, high-level fusion of brutal skill and deep, soulful grace defines the true peak of a legendary skater. This is the ultimate prize, a mastery that takes 20 years to perfect. Whirling into a fierce, high-speed layback at center stage, she set the entire stadium on fire with raw tension. As the last note died and she struck her final stance, that tough Osaka audience broke their usual silence. A heavy, breathless quiet hung over the room for one enchanted split second as they felt her power. Then they exploded into a roaring, tear-soaked wall of thunderous applause. Eyes filled with tears. Banners waved high. Everyone knew this was special. This wasn't just some talented athlete on the ice. They were watching the very summit of what this sport can ever hope to be. You cannot ignore the massive impact of American power taking center stage right in the middle of Japan. Throughout the last few years, every headline screamed about the endless talent coming out of the Russian and Japanese skating camps. Critics across the globe had tossed Team USA aside like some dusty, forgotten piece of history. People saw America as a fading titan that lost its edge in building a truly invincible solo queen. Yet by storming into the city of Osaka, donning her 2026 Olympic gold and seizing the light with fierce power, Alisa Liu snatched the world crown back for her nation. Her win proves the whole American training path is back on top. She showed the world that skating's future isn't about breaking girls before they even hit 17 years old. She demonstrated that the path forward belongs to tough, seasoned women, with the heart to endure the darkest trials this brutal sport can throw at them, finding space to mend before returning twice as fierce and twice as sure of themselves. She crushed that 24-year hex that gripped American ice since the Salt Lake City Games. She broke the Russian spell and launched a bold, powerhouse age for American skaters. But she isn't fighting this battle by herself. The stunning, a deadly combo of her expert wins and the raw skill of new American stars tearing up the world stage means trouble is coming. Mix Alisa's artistry with Amber Glenn's killer triple axels and the insane, physics-breaking, alien-like talent of Ilia Malinin, that rotation king himself, who is literally defying nature, and you get a nightmare scenario for every other country. America has built a steel wall of talent, ready to rule the ice for the next 10 years. The global bigwigs, referees, and enemy teams are shaking because the US has returned to claim everything, showing zero mercy. Right now, we see a new world order carved into stone. The very ground of international sports is shifting under our shoes, and the skating elites should fear this bold, rebellious movement staring them right in the face. Alisa Liu has moved past being a mere athlete. She is now a world-renowned legend. She represents every young star who was ever forced to stay quiet and just do as they were told. The daring, risky road she walked to reach this height has never been seen before. Walking away while at the top, putting her mind before the medals the bosses wanted, fighting against the poisonous, obedient doll image to win big on her own rules has flipped the script on what a female champion can be. Her shocking, that soul-shattering display in Japan served as the final, undeniable evidence that her physical and mental prowess exists on a plane light years beyond any contemporary rival currently competing on this planet. Her throne's unreachable. America's 24-year dry spell is finally laid to rest, with Alisa Liu looming over its headstone, brandishing victory, and practically begging any challenger to even attempt seizing her royal crown. I am transferring this massive, highly scrutinized, and vital conversation over to you, the most brilliant, most intensely loyal, and most fervent enthusiasts within the entire global community of elite competitive figure skating fans. Witnessing Alisa Liu's truly legendary and phenomenal, agonizingly difficult return from total exhaustion to sheer Olympic supremacy, has she definitively proven that her psychological steel remains unmatched by any athlete across the vast, intricate chronicles of this specific sporting discipline? To what extent has her bold, defiant, contemporary style fundamentally transformed the rigid, frequently stifling traditions that once defined the world of international skating? Shall we revert to antiquated norms? Or has the age of the fragile figurine vanished into eternity? And finally, is this peerless, error-free, technically divine exhibition in Osaka the chilling confirmation that the American squad will utterly hijack every gold medal ceremony throughout the entire duration of the coming decade? I expect your most profound, analytical, and aggressive tactical debates within the discussion section located directly below this video immediately. Every individual perspective gets my full attention. Obliterate the thumbs-up icon instantly to propel this vital, revelatory analysis across the digital airwaves so humanity grasps the sheer scale of the history currently unfolding before our very eyes right this second. Join the Pro Skate family this instant and activate those alerts so you shall never, at any point, overlook our high-octane investigations into the authentic, raw, and frequently polarizing politics of world-class skating. The rink has effectively evaporated, as the bar has surged toward truly unreachable peaks. A fresh sovereign of the states has ascended, and we remain stationed at the vanguard to scrutinize every revolution, every blade mark, and every single shattered milestone achieved during her climb to glory. See you in the next.